originally the combat fighting that they're doing, that they're calling MMA right now, was originally called no holds bar, which was NHB, which means you go into the ring and you fight and there's no rules or anything like that. As time went on, they started to make rules that you can't do this, and not a lot of headbutt, and not a lot of bite, and not a lot of pull hair, and all these things. So it was not being able to be called no holds bar because of the rules. They had more rules in it than they should have. So then they started to call it, it's more like a mixed martial arts kind of a thing, and that's when the term MMA started. But the original style was NHB, no holds bar. But even before that, the original style was Shuto, shoot boxing, and shoot fighting. And what those styles incorporated was the stand-up to the ground, the transitions from stand-up to ground, and again from ground to stand-up. And what made it real difficult for most people was one day, you're doing kickboxing, and so you're training in kickboxing, the next day you're doing grappling or wrestling or jiu-jitsu, whatever it is, but you don't have the transitions from stand-up to ground. I mean, most ground fighters start on the ground, most stand-up fighters stay up standing. But in like an MMA kind of atmosphere, you're going to have to be able to do both. You're going to have to be able to go stand up, go to the ground, and be able to go down to the ground, doing a technique or applying a technique, or the same thing from the ground, going back to stand up, throwing your jab or cross or roundhouse or whatever it is. And a lot of these schools aren't teaching that. They're just teaching kickboxing one day, grappling one day, and then the transitions are going to get completely lost. Now again, the term MMA is originally was just a place where they competed. It was combining two different arts against each other. So you'd have a competitor that does kickboxing and then another competitor that does sambo. Those two got together in an arena to fight to see which style was the best. And as time got on, more and more people realized that they had to do more than just their original style entailed. They had to do stand up and ground, and they had to be able to do both of them and be efficient on both of them. And that's how now the whole world is kind of doing the whole MMA thing. And basically, I'm hoping that MMA will start the same thing. It really took off a lot bigger. I remember when I came over to Japan, back from Japan, Black Belt Magazine did an article, and it took me over a year just to get them to print an article, because I was trying to explain to them grappling and kickboxing together. And the people at Black Belt Magazine says, "Oh, it sounds like a joke, a circus. Nobody's want to do that. Most people want to learn how to tie their belt. That's never going to live. That's not going to survive." I even remember being at a fight with Trevor Berbick was fighting Mike Tyson. And I sat with Don King and a couple of people, and I was talking with Don King about how, we're doing this new style and that, and he was saying that, he said it will never last. He said it's just a fad and everything like that. And, for the most part, it had its ups and downs, to where, the Ultimate, the UFC or whatever it was, they almost closed down a couple of times because of the fact that it was costing more money to produce these fighters and do this whole thing than it was that they were making. And now, it's probably $1 billion business. But I guess eventually it's going to start to get a little bit more control, to where people are wanting to know what style MMA we're doing, how we get ranked in MMA, what's the requirements to do MMA, no matter what the style is. Now, again, shoot fighting being one of the original MMAs, because shoot fighting was even there before NHB. And that's basically how the whole thing got started.